Good afternoon, everybody. It's your baby boomer Kitty Lane from the peninsula in Virginia. Back with another Create and Relate. How is everyone today? Uh, I'm here getting some crocheting done before having to go pick up the kids. If anybody pops in and has any questions, feel free. Hello, hello. Little discombobulated today, but for those who don't know, I have been on a market bag kick for the past few days. And this is actually market bag number 5, day number 3 of market bags. Um, had a doctor's appointment this morning. It went well. Got taken off of one of my meds. Excuse me. This is the bottom portion of the market bag. That's going to look like this. So it's not really a defined bottom. Very easy to make. All half double crochet. It is like really, really, really simple. Just make your circle as big as you want it. You do want to make the circle larger than the size of the bag you want. This I consider a medium market bag, and I did 20 rounds, increased up to 20 rounds, and then I did 2 rounds of non-increases, just worked 2 rounds around, and then I started decreasing. And my method of decreasing is every 10th stitch decrease. I did that for 5 rows, and I did a row of just plain half double crochet, and then 5 more rows of decreasing, half double crochet, and then decrease down to the size that I wanted the opening. And when I got to that size, then I added my, I guess you would call it the moss row done in half double crochet. This half double crochet chain, half double crochet chain, all the way around. And you're just creating those holes to run your roping through for your drawstring. So it's really, really simple. Once you get that moss row done, then you crochet 2 more rounds. One is just plain crochet. You can kind of fluff the other one out just to give it a little flair and make it look different. Or you can leave it the same. It doesn't matter. Either way, when you bunch it up, it's going to kind of look like it's got a lip on it. I did not extend this. I just did regular half double crochet all the way around. And it still gave me the little puckered flower look. But if you want it more pronounced, you can do something like um, 2 half double crochets in each stitch. And that'll give it a real pronounced flower look. Hello, hello. Thank you for the thumb. on a market bag kick. But I think I'm going to like this one a little better. It's going to be multi-purposed. The young lady wants a market bag, but she wants to be able to use it as a diaper bag as well. So here goes. She asked me if I could do it. I said, we shall see. I'll definitely get to work on it because I love a challenge. I got so totally confused about what I was doing just then. Oh my goodness. The big question of the day: how do you deal with the ups and downs of life during the holiday season? Hi, Joan. I'm in a whole lot of a funk right now. I am not in my happy place. This is going to sound weird. I'm not in my happy place, but I'm in my happy space. Yeah. I've not been sleeping well, but I have been sleeping. Um, and I've been having really weird and vivid dreams. And I know when I dream like that, there's a message there somewhere. And I can't quite put my finger on it. But one of them became a little self explanatory during the dream. Remember, I kept trying to pass the guy something like this, and he would never take it. And after a really, really positive event, he tried to hug me to thank me. And I backed up from him, I'm like, no, no, no. Keep that same energy you've been having. You know, you never want to touch me. And he explained to me when I give him things like this, he can't see it. But if I offer it to him with my hand open, then he can see it and he can accept it better. Now, I understood the concept of that, but I immediately asked my daughter, what am I hiding? What am I not giving? You know, I don't get it. Hello, everyone. I kind of feel like I'm in this bubble, and I'm all happy, happy, joy, joy, but at the same time, people trying to pop my bubble. I don't want the bubble popped. I hear you, Joan. I do. this is where it starts to get really, really complex. Okay, I understand what you're saying. But if you already feel like you're not giving enough, then I guess I'm asking, where is the line drawn? I think I did have something I wanted to share with you all. If I can find it. This is a really short poem that I wrote. It's really, really, really short. Very short. That's why this grown up thing is hard. So the poem goes like this. It doesn't even have a title. I know that it's nowhere near complete, but it was just some feelings that I had to get out. And I know that I'm not the only person that feels this way. I may not have been who I should have been, but I'm proud of who I was. Because if anything were any different in the past, things would be different between us. Some say I wouldn't change a thing, but for you, I gladly would. More diapers, more outfits, but I wouldn't change the struggle if I could. You may have grown up in a bad economy, but you turned out to be great. So in retrospect, I have to say I did pretty good, don't you think? Of course, you know that was written to my kids. Um, my kids tell me I'm too hard on myself, and I think that has a lot to do with my upbringing. Um, my grandfather dropped out of school in fourth grade. My grandmother dropped out of school in ninth grade. They were 10 years apart. They got married when my grandmother was 14. And she had my mother when she was 15. And had my aunt when she was 17. Um, my grandmother was my grandfather's second marriage. So he had two children of his first marriage. Um, I never met one of them, but I met her son. Her son, the whole world knows, he was a professional football player. Um, and then on our side, my mother had one child, and my aunt had one child. And he and I were pretty much raised like brother and sister. And then, of course, by the time we hit college, because we're like 2.5 years apart, we grew apart. So I don't really hear from him that much. I lost getting back to where we were. My grandfather dropping out in the fourth grade, he became a self-made multimillionaire. Um, it wasn't easy. He, got involved in some illegal activity, small scale, uh, running numbers. But he was also a funeral director, um, insurance agent. He was very active in his church. Everybody loved Uncle Landy. Uncle Landy would give you the shirt off his back. Uncle Landy didn't carry himself. And no, I didn't call him Uncle Landy. I'm just saying it now because it sounds cute. But Uncle Landy would give you the shirt off his back. He would pay other people's bills, but he took care of home first. We never had any complaints. My grandmother dropped out at ninth grade to help take care of her brothers and sisters. She later went back and got her GED, and she went back and got her culinary arts degree. She was the manager of a cafeteria of a private school, which was the first school I attended. And looking at when my grandfather passed, I was 11, I was 12. And my grandmother never missed a beat. Um, Granted, he left her okay, but she had already put plans in motion that when he passed, what he left would be distributed among his children and grandchildren. But my grandmother never missed a beat. She was never late on any bills. She was sickly. She had heart issues, high blood pressure. She as well was obese. And she had arthritis really bad. She was not diabetic. However, my grandfather was. My grandmother learned to cook for a diabetic. Therefore, our household, we eat like diabetics. We don't partake. We partake of very few sugars and barely any salt. If salt doesn't come naturally in the food, we just because we fear diabetes. We know how easily it is to fall into that margin, and we are very particular. You will not find the only thing you'll find in our house that says salt is Epsom salt. We don't do it. As far as sugar is concerned, I make my coffee every morning. Now my daughter will put sugar in her coffee. I don't want sugar in my coffee. Even if we run out of creamer, I will drink my coffee straight. But I'm not. I won't put sugar in it. Um, all of that saying, they pushed and became great in what they were, and they had the two of them together had two powerhouse daughters. Both of them became school teachers who were loved. And my mother was actually uh, the first Black woman to be head of her department in the state of Virginia. And she was a health and physical education teacher. She was also the first Black woman to be an athletic director of a high school in the United States. And with all of this going on around you, and then knowing they wanted me to go to school to be a doctor. I never wanted to be a doctor. I used to want to be a nurse, and eventually I went to school and became a nursing assistant. I was happy with that. Um, to please them, I told them that I would go into pharmacy. It was never a plan of mine. It was never what I wanted. And I started down that path, and it was boring for me. I'm a maker, I'm a creator, and filling prescriptions, filling, reading, filling, and filing prescriptions all day. Yeah, I did work as a pharmaceutical tech for a little while, but it just wasn't for me. I went to school for accounting. Tell me I got to sit behind the desk all day and crunch numbers? I do that anyway. Being head of household, I do that anyway. That's life for me. So I finally decided to go into carpentry, only to hear constantly how disappointed my family was. My cousin goes into marine biology and he's struggling to get through. I'm like 4.0 straight across the board. Even when I was going to school for pharmacy, even when I was going to school for accounting, um, and I'm not tooting my own horn, I'm just saying school was never a problem for me. Brian, on the other hand, struggled. But at some point, he stopped reaching out to me, and I never knew how to help him if he didn't let me know how to help him. At any rate, not being able to pursue what I wanted, like I said, I went into carpentry. My goals as a child, I wanted to be a nurse, a cheerleader, a majorette, and a mother of 12. That's what I wanted to do. That was what I, that was my aspiration in life. I thought that every little girl was going to grow up, find her Prince Charming, and be married because I grew up in a household where there was a husband and a wife, even though my grandmother was my grandfather's second wife. I was grown when I found out that he had a first wife. Um, but my life has been, I feel like I exist, but I've been existing for others. And what's sad about it is that the level of success in my life is greater when I'm doing what everybody else wants me to do. When I went to school for carpentry and I got my certification, I left North Carolina, which is home. That's home. And I came here to Virginia only to be met with, oh my God, there were no or hardly any women in the carpentry field in '84 here in the state of Virginia. I finally got a job with National Roofing, and having all these qualifications under my belt, they started me at 10.50 an hour. They were taking people off the street. Guys was the only female in the crew. They were taking guys off the street with no experience, starting them at $15 an hour. Um, I'm kind of rambling, but I appreciate y'all being here because this is where my mind is right now. It's kind of all over the place. That's why I said I felt the need to pull back. But right now, I just feel like I got to talk it out because I'm tired of sitting in this chair crying and my mind is going from one thought to the other. But I can concentrate enough to tell you that feeling the pressure of being what everybody else wanted me to be and not loving what I was doing was like tearing me up. At some point when I was 7 years old, I went to see the movie Let's Do It Again with my mother and one of her colleagues. And there was a part in the movie where the hotel clerk, the front desk clerk, was able to see everything that was going on, but he didn't make himself a part of it. And I stood up in the middle of the movie and I turned around and told my mom, that's what I want to be when I grow up. I want to be a front desk clerk. I'm nosy, but I'm not intrusively nosy. I like to be aware of everything that's going on around me. I like to be informed. I'm one of those, when a thought crosses my mind, I'll pick up my phone, hey Google, in a heartbeat. Whoops. See, she's so used to doing it when I got it off. She jumped straight on. But I love learning. I love knowing everything that's going on around me. Pebbles, hi. But I love knowing everything that's going on around me. I just like to soak that all in. But like I said, growing up, I wasn't, even though I was happy doing the things that I wanted to do, it wasn't making everybody around me happy. And knowing that when I went to college, I wasn't I wasn't funding it myself. My mother was funding it. And it wasn't that I couldn't get a job and do it. It was, I knew how hard my mother struggled for everything she had. Her first, y'all excuse me one moment. This is my baby. Okay, I'm right back. I am so sorry. My kids are more like my parents. And if I don't answer the phone when my girls call, they will call 911. They will call each other. They will call neighbors. So I kind of have to answer to let them know, okay. And sometimes it's at a bad time, but yeah. But like I said, I wanted to be a nurse. I achieved that. I learned while I was there that that wasn't for me. I'm a very giving person and I'm a very caring person, but I also attach to people too quickly, too easily, and too hard. I love fast and I love hard. And when my first experience in a nursing home, the very first gentleman that I had, he became my heart. And 2 days later, he passed away. And I couldn't understand. I understood that he was 93. I I get that. I understand that. But it's like immediately I would go into work an hour early just so I could read the Bible to him for an hour because he enjoyed it. And I learned that the first day I was there. And that's just, I knew that I could not last in that environment. So I also knew that as a kid coming up, I had Tinker Toys. I had what they call Lincoln Logs. I had building toys. One of my babysitters, she didn't get wood chopped down to go in her burning stoves in the house. Yeah, y'all. I was born in '63. I'm there. We had the wood burning stoves, but she had a sandbox out back because she had us kids. But on the other side of that sandbox, she would get her wood chopped up. She would get the 4x4s chopped up into little 6-inch blocks. And I used to take those blocks and build a fort around the sandbox so that I could stay in that sandbox by myself. And it was airtight. And some of the mean little kids sometimes would come and knock things over. I now see animal shelter. I can do well. Not only am I allergic, recently finding out because I was raised with dogs. I love them. Oh my goodness. But I recently found out that I'm allergic to dogs. I knew I was allergic to cats, even though I've owned cats. I've owned rabbits. I've owned turtles. I've owned squirrels. I've owned snakes. I've owned. Oh my God, what pets have I not had? I've never had anything that I was afraid of, like spiders. My son has. Not me. Mm-mm. Never owned butterflies. Never owned any of that. But oh, thank you. But I have always been a creator. When I learned how to crochet at the age of 5, the reason I stopped is because I couldn't do what I wanted to do. I'm a little bullheaded, but I like working on things that I like to work on. Of course, getting older and realizing that there's a need or people want to buy certain things. I've learned, but when I tell y'all I got at least 25 whips around here, because my ADHD mind is like, tomorrow I think I want to do table runners. Maybe I'll do chair cushions. Like I have ideas to do the stuffed cows with the polyfill. Oh my God, I know it's going to be gorgeous when I do it. But I have told myself I cannot do it until next year. I want to make the beach blankets. I have the designs drawn up to make them. I just have to, got the yarn for it. I just have to crochet them. And it's like jumping out of my skin, super excited. But I have got to get some of this stuff down before I do. There's more that I was supposed to get down, but I picked this up one day and excuse me, and I was like, I gotta make it. I gotta make it. I can't stop. And then this one is the fourth one. But the creative side of me, my family did not get to appreciate until they started coming out and seeing what I was doing. When they found out that even though I was, even though I was working at Burger King, Taco Bell, and Chuck E. Cheese at the same time, I was making very good money, more money than I should have been making at those three places if I was even working them full time. And my mother, got on the phone with her sister and expressed all of her concerns. And instead of just asking me what I was doing, and I knew that they would not approve because they never wanted me to do anything handy. And then one day my mom finally decided to muster up and ask me, and I'm like, I draw blueprints for people that want additions to their houses. Each blueprint is $400 because they got to get it passed by, it's got to go through the city inspector before they can get the go ahead. And she was like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah. And $400 for one project back in '84 was like a mint. you know, I mean, it wasn't like being a millionaire or anything, but you take it, I was doing blueprints. I was probably doing at least 3 blueprints a month. So I was making more money doing that than I was working at all 3 of those restaurants. And my mother really thought that I was doing something. And I'm like, how I just want to understand math. I'm working at Burger King full time. So I'm getting 8 to 10 hours a day there. I'm only closing at Taco Bell on weeknights. And I'm only doing weekends at Chuck E. Cheese dressed up as Mama Bear. The rest of the time I'm here at home. When do I have time to go out here and do anything illegal? But I think a lot of that was my aunt getting in my mom's head. My aunt was the big pusher behind wanting me to do things a certain way. And I have a very strong will. And I think a lot of things my aunt really got in the way of. I think sometimes I allowed her to get in my head. And instead of pushing as hard as I could have pushed in certain areas. I pulled back a lot because, hell, I don't know why. I just pulled back a lot. My sweater, see, that's one that I should be working on. I have a gray panel to add to this to match this. This is the front right lapel, and this is the front left lapel. So I have the gray to add to that. And then I can sew them together across the top, add the sleeves, put the facing on, and it'll be done. And God knows I needed it this morning when I left to go to the doctor because it was cold out there. It was cold out there. And what's sad about how cold it was, so yes, it's coming along. It should be done. I know, I know, I know. And to think I told myself I was going to make 2 sweaters this month. And I've done enough market bags. I could have had 2 sweaters. Really could have. So my sweater is coming along great. Right there. But yeah, I think my aunt was the driving force behind a lot of my shortcomings. My mother, I feel you, Joan. I get it. I get it. I get it. Yes, ma'am. I got it. I got it. I got it. I promise you, if I don't finish it today, and I couldn't at this point, but I will definitely work on it today. I am going to finish this because this is commissioned, and I want to have it done by the time my daughter goes to work tomorrow. But it's a market bag, so it's going to be done. It's going to be multi-purpose because the young lady wants to use it as a market bag and a diaper bag. She just had a baby 2 days ago, and that's what she wants to use it for. But even this, when I wanted to really get into crocheting when I was a teenager, I got laughed at. I love you too. I love you too. But when I wanted to get into it, my aunt was the first one to say, um, "Is that going to pay the bills?" Okay, that wasn't one of my kids. But she was the first one to say, "Is that going to pay the bills? You need to be focused more on setting your career." And then she saw my work. I made my first graph gan when I was in college. My aunt didn't see that. I realized I had a knack for it. So I started working more on graph gans, and I was getting really good at it. And I was incorporating more than just the letters. I was doing designs. I was doing, pictures. And I love doing graph gans. I absolutely love it. It's like giving the yarn, truly giving the yarn a personality. When you can make a cat jump off of yarn, you know, or even the words. My daughter has a blanket. She graduated from IC Northam. All my kids graduated from IC Northam High School in Portsmouth, Virginia, and my daughter has the blanket that says IC Northam Greyhounds, and I did a silhouette of a greyhound. Oh, and I look at some of the things that I do, and I'm like, oh my God, that is amazing. Oh my God, that is so beautiful. And to see these things were done like years ago, but it wasn't until I was in my 40s and my aunt actually saw some of my Gans. The one that she saw that she loved the best was the spread that I made to go on her bed. And I made it so that it had a skirt on it, and the skirt was contour to the bed. So it was no, you know, flappy corners. It fit her California king size bed. And it had her name all around the skirt and her last name across the top. When she saw that, she was like, oh my God, why have you not been doing this your whole life? You could have made a mint by now. Do you know how? And I'm looking at her like, now that you just, yeah, after you have destroyed every little bit of confidence I had about this 20 years ago, now you see where I was then. By now I'm feeling like I'm in my 40s. Now I've got kids who are teenagers and, just about grown and in college, and I got debt now. I can't start a business and I've got debt. I'm selling what I can, but I'm working. To give you a heads up, in 99, I was working 4 jobs and going to school because I was raising 35 kids, literally raising 35 kids. I drove cab whenever I wasn't working one of my other jobs. I worked at Innovations, which was a cold call center. I worked at Fashion Bug Plus selling clothes, and I worked at Exxon. And I went to PD Pruden Community College for nursing assistants. Like I told you, I did become a nursing assistant. So all of this happened in 99, and I was doing this, and that was how it was for me. I worked multiple jobs because even though I didn't give birth to those 12 kids I wanted as a child, I ended up raising 3 times as many kids as I wanted, just from my my children's friends feeling so comfortable in my house that they stayed, and they felt like they would be mothered and they would be loved and they would be taken care of. And I knew that that would be part of my role in life. So that's what I did. They had certain things they had to do. It was non-negotiable. Somebody had to take out the trash, somebody had to sweep, somebody had to mop, somebody had to wipe down doors, somebody had to clean up the dinner tables. There were things that everybody had to do, and we rotated. We rotated. When I say we, I mean we, because I was in there with them. I tried to give them everything that I was missing. I knew my mother had to work, and I knew how hard she had to work, but there were days that, no, I can't work today because I need to be with my kids, or times that I got off work and I did not sleep. I got myself into the sleep pattern because I knew that my kids needed me, and they needed me to be present. So, yes, I'm popping energy pills, drinking Pepsi with um, Mentos and peanuts in it, and all of this to stay awake while I'm driving the cab. I'm driving like a zombie, but it paid senior dues. It kept my kids clothed. It kept them fed. It kept them in shoes. I had already, I didn't tell y'all that, but I had already gone to school for cosmetology and got my cosmetology license. So I was able to cut down on that expense in that I could do hair. And most of my boys were letting their hair grow. So I was braiding girls' hair and boys' hair. So I had to take the time to be present for them. And then on the side, I would have a couple of people coming in who were paying for getting their hair done, but you send the kids off to college. And would I change any of that? No, not even a little bit. Oh, I saw two words and I had to sit up, and that was slow down. Slow down sounds good to the average person. I'm not average. In telling you all my life, I literally today had cut out all the bad things. I've told them before, but I literally cut out all the bad, bad, bad things. And because of those bad, bad, bad things, I have, I suffer from PTSD really badly. So I'm already jumpy. All my life I've been ADHD. Can't keep still. When the focus on this thing is gone and I get hyper focused on the next thing, I got to do it. And my intentions are good when I go into it. It's like I want to do this, but it's hard to pull back because if pulling back too much will cause me to slip into a state of depression where I don't want to be. And that is the struggle that I'm having right now. I want a hook in my hand all day, every day. I do. I want to. I'm super excited about recording videos because I talk a lot and it makes me feel like I have someone to talk to because I'm here in this apartment by myself most of the time and it's lonely. Yeah, I don't have a partner. I don't have, there's no husband, no boyfriend, no companion. They're not there. I because of my PTSD and because of things that I've noticed, Hampton is still very new to me. I've only been here. December will be 5 years. So I really don't know anybody over here. And it's hard for me to get out and meet people because this place is like a whole new world. I lived in Portsmouth. In Portsmouth, we had the Norfolk Naval Shipyard. We had Craney Island, which is the largest fuel supply, the largest military fuel supply in the world. We had the Naval Hospital. We had so many military facilities, and even though it was a transient area, I mean, people just coming and going, people there that didn't grow up there or whatever. Hey, that was cool. People were cordial. People were respectful. Here in Hampton, if you don't want to get cussed out, stay inside. If you don't want to be looked at like, stay inside. If you don't want to speak to people and they look at you like, what are you talking to me for? Stay inside. Last no 2 years ago 2 years ago I'm driving on my way home, just picked up the food from the restaurant, Mexican restaurant. I get to the stop sign. I stop. My mother was also a driver's ed teacher, so I stopped the proper way. I stopped behind the bold white line before you get to the stop sign. I stopped, and then I gradually move forward until I can see a clearing, which often means I'm stopping the second time. I was in the process of moving forward, seeing that there was traffic, ready to apply brakes. This dude is turning onto the street where I am, and he's cussing me out, calling me all kinds of names. And then he rolls down his window and he pulls out a firearm and he points it at me. And I'm like, over a stop sign, dude? Are you serious right now? I am sorry for your loss. Um, but it's things like that that I've encountered over here. My first year here was the worst year, my medically worst year. It would be 2024, but 2024 2021 was worse. And after catching COVID from a hospital, when I was cleared and when I was able to get up and get out again, it was like maybe 6 weeks later. I went over to Walmart, which is right next door, and the lady had to ask me, the cashier, I'm like the sixth person in line, baby, are you okay? I'm standing here and I'm shaking. I'm shaking and I'm sweating. It's November. I'm sweating and I'm shaking. Hi, Darcia. How are you? But I'm sweating. I'm shaking, and I was telling her I'm gonna be okay. I just got a little bit of anxiety, So when I got up to her, I explained to her about the health things that I had gone through, and she was like, "Oh, I get it. I get it. Okay." But it's hard to slow down when your mind is going like this. Literally, my mind, as I sit here in my room, I see 100 things that I could do. First of all, my body won't let me do what my mind wants me to do. That's frustrating. That is very frustrating. If it's more than 10 dishes in that sink, I have to take a break and go back and wash the rest later. And I don't, I'm struggling, Darcia. I am psychologically struggling. But if I have to break tasks up into little things, and that slows me down, so I'm not able to get that part done. And then the fact that I am disabled is bothering me because I cannot financially contribute to the household the way I feel I need to. I'm on a fixed income. I get this one check every month, and then I feel bad because when that time comes around, both of my girls are digging into their wallets, giving me my yarn allowance for the month. And I'm like, I can't even put my own money towards yarn allowance because as of right now, if my daughter decides, I want to break out on my own, if she leaves, I have to go because what I get from all of my years of working for this disability does not even cover my rent. Yeah, but it doesn't. It does that. And that is frustrating. And it's like I want to do my part. I want to pull my weight, and I'm so used to being that provider. And it does stink, but I'm so used to being that provider, and then to be thrust into the position where I don't have that capability anymore. And that's like to tell you how quickly my situation has deteriorated. When I first moved here, up until April of this year, I could walk around my apartment complex. In April, I had a coughing spell that caused me to pass out. Apparently, I fell and I hit my head. I was hospitalized due to a concussion. The doctor that I had changed all my meds. Ever since April, I've been dealing with swelling in my legs and feet. So I'm constantly undergoing tests to try to figure out what's going on. What he did, he took me off of my fluid pills. So now it's like my fluid pills are trying to catch up. It's like they're saying, hey, I know we're supposed to be working in here, but I didn't have to work this hard before. So I have lost, I'm starting to get it back, but my doctor said, and I don't know how she came up with the figure, that I had lost up to 83% of my mobility. So this is where I am most of the day. And I'm up to now about 70%. It feels good that I've gained some of it back, but it's disheartening. My bathroom is right there. It's an accessible bathroom, but I have to struggle to get there. And when I'm out of breath and sweating and panting, just to go right there, and I used to be able to walk around this apartment complex. When somebody knocks on the door, I have to yell really loud, just a minute, because they could potentially walk away because it takes me so long to get to the door. These, all of what I'm saying today is a very small portion of what I'm going through. Um, a big part of what I'm going through, I did touch on it, is something that I know I can't control, but I know from my standpoint, I could make it different. It's just that I don't know how to without doing what I'm doing, which is secluding myself from others. I don't. I'm an. Uh, I'm an introverted extrovert. I love being around people, but I love my space inside of that crowd. I love knowing that they're around. I love hearing them. I love interacting with them. But I like being, and most of the time, especially when I go to my poetry events, I find me a little table and I have my crocheting. And as long as I can sit here and watch them, hear them, address them when they talk to me, and sit here and crochet, I'm cool. If it's my notebook that I carry, as long as I can sit there and write poetry, I'm cool. But I don't even feel comfortable going out and sitting on my porch anymore. The kids, oh wow, the little kids out here in this neighborhood call me fat, ugly witch. Y'all, we had trunk or treat for Halloween. I crocheted plushy candy corns to the point that I had a surplus for all the kids out here in this apartment complex. I spent half of my food stamps on candy for the kids out here in this complex. And they called me fat, ugly witch. And what's funny about that is being called fat doesn't even bother me. I've never known a skinny day in my life. I was a fat cheerleader. I was a fat mom. I was a fat softball player, a fat basketball player, a fat football player. Yes, I played football. I was a field goal kicker. I ran track fat. I threw the shot put in the discus fat. Rode bicycles fat. Everything. I've been married twice. I was fat both times. So that part has never bothered me. That part has never bothered me. Um, it bothers me being called ugly. And it bothers me being called a witch. One little boy even called me a monster. I know that there is a way that I can be me without even having to confront these people. That would mean getting away from this apartment. Uh, for the last 2 years, you're older than me. Oh yeah, it is a prison. I have, I have, and I think what bothered me the most, Darcia, uh, when the little kid first called me a fat, ugly witch. He was with his mother, and she did or said nothing to correct it. She laughed and just kept walking. And I was like, wow, wow. You know, my grandson, we went to BJ's, and as we were leaving, he made reference to the cashier being old. My daughter and I marched his little hind parts right back over there, and he had to apologize. Yes, he did. Because regardless of what you see, she was old, she was seasoned, but she didn't need to be reminded of that from some little 4 year old smart mouth child. We weren't having it. And you just don't see kids being disciplined now, and they feel entitled. They feel like it's okay. I should be able to say whatever I want to say. You know, I sometimes throw my generation in the blame pot for that, because even I myself, you know, I didn't have the freedom to say what I wanted to say with my mom. Even times I felt like I wanted to talk, sometimes I just had to shut up. I had to eat it, and you know, and and I promised myself that when I had kids, I was going to have an open door type policy in my household. They were going to have to respect me and everybody else, but whenever they felt like they needed to talk, they should always be able to come to me. And I thank God we have that type of relationship. My mother and I didn't gain that relationship until I was very grown. I was a very, very, very grown. I'm trying to read and I still got tears in my eyes. There is healing in the tears. I agree with Darcy. Maybe your man's need adjusting. We're gonna talk a little bit later about adjusting of the meds. That's a whole nother. I'm afraid of meds. I'm afraid of meds. Um, One of the key things that my doctor and I talked about when I first went to her is eventually I want to be off of my meds, and I know that I am a work in progress, and that's fine. I'm okay. um, that's the problem. The parents need to correct. Yes, they do. raised my children the same days. Just think parents these days want it all easy. Absolutely. Absolutely, Garcia. But yeah, but I think a lot of my generation in wanting the kids to have that opportunity to open up to them forgot that manners had to go beyond just home. You know, my kids, yes, you can come and talk to me about anything. And see, I was also the kind of parent that if my child came home and did not have a good day, and they were telling me all, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened. Okay, now I heard what Johnny did, I heard what Priscilla did, I heard what Nene did, I heard what Jaquan did. But what did you do? You haven't told me what you did. I want to hear all sides of it. I'm that parent that went up to the school and asked the principal, assistant principal, teacher, whomever, what did you see? What happened? And then it was dealt with accordingly. Um, I didn't always believe the staff when they called me and said, your child did such and such and such and such. Okay, what got them to that point? It wasn't, and there were times that it was my child's fault. It was time that it was the other child's fault. My youngest daughter was sent to alternative school. This and it's not funny, but I smiled a little when it happened. My youngest daughter went through something that I went through, both of us at a very young age, where our childhood was taken away from us. Me, it happened by a grown man. With my daughter, it happened with another child. Perpetrators don't understand, or maybe they do, how they mess with a person's mind when they do something like that. Your mind is corrupted for the rest of your life. You find ways to deal with it, push forward, go through, and yes, a lot of prayer, but you cannot stop those memories from resurfacing in dreams, a certain smell, the way somebody looks, the way somebody walks, certain things they say, and in my situation, I was just about to turn 4, and this man is down on his knee beside my bed, and he says to me, with a hand over my mouth, if you ever tell anybody, I will unlife your mother and make you watch. I am 61 years old. 57 years later, that haunts me. I lost my mother 5 years ago, and the first thing I thought was he succeeded because I was holding my mother's hand when she passed. So I watched my mother, and that was the first thing that popped in my head. When these people do things like this to kids, it ruins them for life. And I never harped on the ruining, but I do have moments that I can't get past that moment. I've got to fight my way past that moment. But my youngest daughter had gotten to the point that she started acting out in school. She was in second grade. Her teacher choked her. He choked her with a broom handle because she wasn't moving fast enough for him. He sent her in choking. To get away from him, she punched him in the stomach. He sent her to the office. Automatically, the school was talking about it, expelling her because she hit a teacher. When my daughter came home, a red mark was all around her neck, and I asked her what happened, and I went over to the school and I talked to the assistant principal. And she says, you volunteer over here all the time, and I will fight for her not to be expelled. I said, no, 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 I want you to see something. And I showed her my daughter's neck, and she was like, what in the world? I said, no, baby, tell her what you told me. And she told her side of the story. I said, now I would like for her to go in the main office and I would like to sit in here and hear the teachers out. She said, I don't think that's wise. I said, I think it's more than wise. I need to be able to know what my next is. I'm not going to put my hands on anybody, but I need to know how to carry it from here. So when he came in, he's telling his side of it, and he's leaving out the part where he told her to sweep, and when she grabbed the broom, she wasn't moving fast enough. So he grabbed it, and from behind, he puts this broom around her neck. He left that part out. So I asked him, Mr. So and so, how did Jennifer get those red marks around her neck? She didn't have those when she left home this morning. Well, what happened? And then the assistant principal steps in and she's like, did you at any point choke this child? I never put my hands on her. Did you choke her with the broom handle? Oh, well, I somehow it ended up around her neck. See? And here's this man, 6'5", and I'm not kidding. I'm not being funny, but he was over 450. He was 6'5" and over 450. We had conversation at some point, so I knew that much. And here's my child, 6 years old, second grade. Really? Jennifer got, that's my baby girl, sorry. I said her name, I'm not supposed to. But she got in trouble a lot because of that incident. Because the teacher was reprimanded. When it got to the other teachers without them knowing the whole situation, my child was a problem child. And I understood how that was because my mother was a teacher. My aunt was a teacher. So I knew that when kids went from grade to grade, school to school, teachers would get together and talk about these kids before they even had them, before they even knew what their personalities were. And they already had their own assessment of that child. So I would go to school and I would ask them, please assess my child on who she is and not from what you hear from anybody else. She deserves the same chance as anybody else. Long story short, by the time she was in sixth grade, they had put her in alternative school. There was a boy that used to trip her every day. She got tired of it. The teacher would see it and laugh with the kids. So the day she decided to defend herself, she got sent home. There was another little girl that tried to call herself my daughter's best friend, but every time they got in the bathroom, she was either pushing my daughter into the paper towel holder or squeezing her head between the toilet and the wall, doing something to get a rise out of the other girls. Other girls were complaining about this said girl, but nobody would confront her. So when my daughter got tired of it, she confronted her and did what she felt like she had to do. That was when they sent her to alternative school because she beat the girl so bad. At any rate, they sent her to alternative school, and I was getting phone calls every day about Jennifer, her behavior. She's doing this, she's doing that. So the one day Jennifer went to school, she had her complete uniform. She was acting like an angel. The lady called me and told me, and when Jennifer, told me that Jennifer was having a good day. When she walked in that door, I laid into her, and she could not understand why. I said, because that lady should not know you well enough to be calling me just to tell me you had a good day. How many other kids had a good day? Is she making this phone call to every parent whose child had a good day? Well, recently, my grandson is a lot like his grandmama. He is ADHD also, but he is a child prodigy. This kid, bless his heart, he is 6 years old. He reads on an eighth grade level. His problem solving skills are superb. He is quite the little gentleman. That little man, oh my goodness. Um, but at any rate, he talks his way into a lot of trouble. And when we went to the little Christmas show that they had the other night, his substitute teacher, because his teacher just had a baby, the substitute teacher comes over and she's like, let me tell you about Pete. And she said, He talks. He can't stay in his seat. He's like 1,000 times his own age. He's telling us the meaning of words that even we have to look up. And that's good and bad because lots of times he gets in our conversations but the ultimate thing was, I think regular school is going to bore him. So I think we need to get him tested. When we walked back in the house, my daughter was like, Pete, haven't I told you? And then she looked at me and she was like, you know what I just thought about, Mom? And I said, what? She said, that day I walked in the house when the lady called you and told you that I was having a good day. She said, all in all, this lady just said, she said, but every day we hear repeat this feeling. I said, see, now you understand as a parent. Okay, what? But yeah, um, what I'm struggling with now is, like I said, I know that there is a way. I'm tired of being lonely. I'm tired of being cooped up here in the house. The only phone calls I can depend on, the only wanted phone calls that I can depend on come from my kids. My my age group, the people right around where I am, are still working. And they're different shifts and they have families, and I don't want to call them at the wrong time. I don't want to call them when they're getting ready for dinner. I don't want to call them when they got this big family function. I don't want to call them when they're at work. And I've always been that respectable type of person that I respect other people's time, their boundaries, and but at the same time, what has happened as a result is I just found out 7 years ago that I have actual siblings, three brothers and a sister. I'm the baby of five. And now it's down to three of us. When my oldest brother started asking about me, he passed away. By this time, I had met my sister and my middle brother, and I constantly reach out to them. I have a relationship with one of my nephews. I talk to him pretty frequently. But when my sister passed away, I found out through Instagram the day after she passed. That hurt. Now, my younger brother doesn't want to meet me because, y'all, this is so silly. He was the baby until I came along. I'm 61. He's 4 years older than me. Grow up, dude. At the same time, I don't want to push myself on somebody that doesn't want to be bothered with me. I'm grown enough, I can accept that. But am I pushing myself on somebody who doesn't want to be bothered with me when this family took me in with open arms and made me feel welcome and then just shut me off like I was some type of appliance fixture? Do I not have a right to feel abandoned? Which adds to the loneliness, which makes me feel like I love all of you. That's one of the things that you always hear me say, that I love you, and I want everybody to learn to love themselves. Do I love me? Absolutely. I wouldn't be questioning the stuff that I'm going through if I didn't, and trying to find a solution. Now, about the adjusting the meds, back in the 90s, my PCP put me on Pamelor, Wellbutrin, and something else. All of that finally switched over to Prozac, eventually ending up with, what was the Z one? I forgot what the one was that started with Z, but it was the last one that I was on. But all of them made me feel like it didn't matter what was going on in the world, it was okay. I became very, very, very passive and disassociated. And that wasn't good for my kids, it wasn't good for me. So the day I said I do to my second husband, I stopped taking Zoloft. I stopped taking the Zoloft. The doctor had me up to 150 milligrams, and I stopped taking it cold turkey. I know I wasn't supposed to. 6 weeks later, by the time all of this got out of my system, I realized I actually didn't. This man abused me in every possible way. Every possible way. He tried to unalive me. We lived in an old apartment building that had issues with water bugs. So, in his attempt to bomb the apartment without telling me, and I'm laying in the bed asleep, he put 4 bottles up against the gap under my door, laid them down so that the stream would go right into my room, and set them off. I woke up gasping for air, had to kick the window out in my room to get out. And even after that, Zoloft told me that I did. So I stood in front of the Justice of Peace and said, I do. And like I said, 6 weeks later, I realized I didn't anymore, and did not feel bad about it at all. I literally left with the clothes on my back and a duffel bag full of clothes because I was on my way to Kansas to spend a week with my son. And I've had to rebuild from that. I left 3 bedrooms of furniture, a dining room set, a washer, dryer, um, television, appliances, electronics, everything, tablet, family pictures, DVDs and VCRs, everything left it, clothes, everything left it, jewelry left it. That's why when I talk to some people who I used to work with an abuse center, and I would talk to some people and I tell them, when you're really ready to get out of that situation, you won't know where the strength comes from, but it comes, and you will leave. But no one else can tell you when that time is. I just pray that it's not too late. You can't tell another person when their time is. You can't. Yes. Yes. Oh, I know that's right. Joan, I wish it had taken me a year from my first, no, before my first marriage. The boyfriend I had at 21 was the first one to put his hands on me in that way. And even though I defended myself and ended that relationship right there, I found myself getting into a series of the same types of relationships after. And it became a pattern. Um, even before the second husband, the shortest relationship I had, which lasted 4 months, was the worst. It was the absolute worst. This man moved into my house uninvited after a month and a half, told me when he moved in what he did to the property owner where he used to live. So he was running from the law. And he ran to my house and took total advantage of me in every possible way. Threw me out my back door naked after he had had his way with me. Used to pull me by my hair to get me up, tried to throw me out of closed windows, belt buckles, table legs. Oh my goodness, y'all, I could give y'all stories. I could give y'all stories. So, what I'm going through now is mild compared to what I have been through. It's still, and I thank God that I have gotten to the point in my life that I realize that I need to pull back a little bit. I needed to talk it out. That's why I thank God for you all. And I love y'all so much. But certain things I had to pull back from and just reassess some things. At one point in my life, if things had gotten like that or even gotten like this, I'd have spiraled. But I thank God that I'm able to get up in there. I may struggle, but I can go in there and look in the mirror. I can go right over there and look in the mirror. I can turn on my camera right here. I can see me. Y'all getting ready to tell y'all who I am. I am Catherine Teresa Lane Hodges II. I was named after my grandmother. I was not born in Wilson, North Carolina, but I was raised there. And that will always be home to me. I am nothing but a country girl full of love, heart, peace, spirit. I'm very soulful and I'm very honest. I'm a Sagittarius, so I can be considered to be brutally honest. But it's never to hurt anybody, it's all out of love. And I want the world to be happy. I want this to be a happy space, a happy place. That's what I bring to the table. Yep. And that's why I know I have the ability to fight through moments like this. So that's what I'm going to continue to do. I hate to leave because I feel like I'm right in the middle of talking to the people who can just pull me right to where I need to be. And like, I can't say enough that I love you guys. And please, please, please always exercise self love because it is the greatest love of all. If you can't love yourself, you cannot love yourself the way you deserve to be loved. You deserve the absolute best. And I am going to be happy. I am happy. I'm happy. I'm a little distorted right now. All in all, I'm happy. I have three beautiful children. I have, oh my God, my youngest daughter. I've already told you her name is Jennifer. If anything happens to me, I know that everything will be taken care of. When I'm down and I cannot do for myself, she is right there. I got sick in here one day and was having chest pains. She works for Amazon. She delivers 45 minutes away from home. She called 911 from Williamsburg to come to the house to get me. She called her sister, who's a school teacher, my oldest daughter, and told her, "You need to go to the apartment and pick up the kids and stay there until the ambulance gets there." I just called them to go get Mom. That child be on it. She is absolutely on it. Yes. So I know that I'm going to be okay. But like I said, I'm glad that I've reached the point in my life that I recognize when I need to just. So I'm not gone. I'm just pulling back a little bit. I love you all. I really do. And if any of you ever feel compelled or would like to, don't forget I have a contest going on. I have even dropped some information today that can put you in the contest. It's going to be a drawing. So go back and check out the video, especially the one that says recap. That's where all the questions are together. And I know I've given you at least 5 nuggets of information today. So please, because I've got like a beautiful, I'll show you all. I made a basket and it's full. And it's just looking for a home. So get on it, y'all. And I love you all back so, so, so much. I will be seeing y'all on these YouTube streets soon. So until I see you again, peace out, everybody.